Don't buy these 10 flour brands if you're over 60. Only 3 are actually safe with your blood pressure medications. But here's what almost nobody tells you. The real danger isn't what's in the flour itself. It's what the flour is doing to the medications you're already taking. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how certain flour brands are interacting with your blood pressure pills, blood thinners, and kidney function in ways that your doctor might not have connected to your breakfast pancakes. And that revelation will change how you read every single ingredient label you see from this moment forward. If you've been buying flour the same way for the past 20 years, just grabbing whatever's on sale or whatever looks familiar, this is exactly the moment to pause and really listen. And before we go deeper, I want to hear from you in the comments. Which flour brand have you been using for the longest? Have you ever noticed any changes in your blood pressure readings or your energy levels after switching brands? Your experience matters, and this community learns from real stories. So please, share that with us below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time, because every single week we're uncovering brand warnings and safer alternatives that could genuinely protect your health. Wait, this part is critical, and I need your full attention for just a moment. The reason I'm telling you this today is because our complete, in-depth guide on flour safety and medication interactions is available right now in the description and in the pinned comment below. This ebook goes much deeper into the mechanisms of how processing chemicals, storage additives, and nutrient density affect your specific medications, and the patterns you need to watch for when you're standing in that grocery store. It's not free, but it's designed specifically for people like you who want the real answers, not marketing copy. Now let's get into the 10 brands, starting with the one that seems the safest but carries a hidden risk that most cardiologists won't discuss. Number 10 on this list is King Arthur Baking Company All-Purpose Flour, and I know what you're thinking. King Arthur has the reputation of being the premium, thoughtfully sourced option. The brand was founded in 1790. They publish their sourcing standards. They have a community of home bakers who trust them. The packaging itself feels trustworthy. It's not flashy. The ingredient list is straightforward. Unbleached wheat flour. That's the first ingredient, and for most people over 60, unbleached sounds safer than bleached. But here's where the hidden interaction begins. King Arthur adds malted barley flour to their all-purpose blend. Malted barley flour is a fermentation byproduct that increases the vitamin B profile of the flour, specifically niacin. Now, niacin on its own is fine. Your body needs it. But if you're taking any statin medication for cholesterol, and most people over 60 are, niacin becomes a problem. Statins and niacin both work through overlapping metabolic pathways in your liver. When you combine them, your liver has to process both simultaneously. This doesn't just mean the niacin works a little bit differently, it means your body's ability to clear the statin from your bloodstream can slow down. Your statin levels can climb. That elevated statin concentration increases your risk of muscle pain, liver enzyme elevation, and in rare cases, serious muscle breakdown. And the terrifying part? You won't know it's happening until you get your next blood work done. Your doctor will see the elevated liver enzymes and might assume it's the statin dose that's the problem, so they'll lower it. But the real culprit was the flour sitting in your pantry the entire time. King Arthur is number 10 because this interaction isn't universal. Only people taking statins are at real risk. But that's millions of Americans over 60. And most of them have no idea that the flour they chose specifically because it seemed more trustworthy is actually the one creating a problem in their body. Number 9 is Gold Medal All-Purpose Flour. This is the brand your grandmother probably used. It's been around since 1880. It's affordable. It's everywhere. And for a long time, it was genuinely the standard by which all other flours were measured. Most bakers over 60 learned to bake with Gold Medal. Their instinct is to keep buying it because their hands remember that flour. The problem isn't the flour itself, but what Gold Medal has changed about their processing in the last 15 years. Around 2008, they began using potassium bromate more aggressively as a dough conditioner. Potassium bromate strengthens gluten networks, which makes the bread rise more consistently and stay softer longer on the shelf. That's good for the bakery business. It's not good for your kidneys. Potassium bromate is legal in the United States. The FDA approved it decades ago. But the European Union banned it in 2001. Canada banned it in 1994. Australia and Japan won't allow it. Why? Because studies have shown that residual bromate in flour can accumulate in your kidney tissue over time. And if you're over 60, your kidneys are already filtering less efficiently than they were at 40. Your glomerular filtration rate has naturally declined. You might not have kidney disease yet, but you don't have the reserve capacity you used to have. Every time you eat a piece of bread or a pancake made with gold medal flour, you're introducing a small amount of bromate residue that your kidneys have to filter. Your body can handle it once. Your body can handle it twice. But over 40 years of daily bread, the accumulation matters. And here's the cruel part. Your kidney damage will be silent and painless until you suddenly get blood work showing that your creatinine levels have climbed or your eGFR has dropped significantly. If you're already taking a blood pressure medication, particularly an ACE inhibitor or an ARB, which millions of seniors are, and you're also eating gold medal bread every single day, your kidneys are working under double pressure. The medication is protecting your kidneys from high blood pressure, but the bromate residue is working in the opposite direction. You're caught in a biological tug of war, and your kidneys are the rope. Number 8 is Pillsbury all-purpose flour. Pillsbury has the same history as gold medal, trusted, familiar, used by American families for generations. Their brand identity is tied to reliability and consistency. The Pillsbury Doughboy is one of the most recognized mascots in grocery advertising. When you see that logo, your brain immediately registers safety and tradition. The specific risk with Pillsbury is different from gold medal. Pillsbury sources their wheat from conventional farming operations, which is standard across most American flour brands. But their milling process includes a bleaching step using benzoyl peroxide. Benzoyl peroxide is also used in acne medications. You might have used it on your skin when you were younger. At that concentration, it's safe for topical use. But when it's present as a residue in flour, and you're consuming it in bread, pancakes, and baked goods multiple times a week, the exposure is different. Your digestive system can metabolize small amounts of benzoyl peroxide, but here's the interaction that matters for people over 60. Benzoyl peroxide metabolizes into benzoic acid in your stomach. Benzoic acid is then processed through your liver and kidneys. If you're taking any diuretic medication, a water pill for blood pressure or heart disease, your body is already working hard to manage sodium and fluid balance. Adding benzoyl peroxide metabolites to that system means your kidneys have more work to do at the exact moment when they're already being stressed. Seniors taking a combination of blood pressure medication plus a diuretic are essentially asking their kidneys to perform a complex chemical balancing act. Pillsbury flour is adding an extra variable to that equation. It's not a massive dose. It's not an acute poisoning. It's a chronic, low-level burden that your aging kidneys simply don't have the capacity to ignore. The question you should be asking yourself right now is, why are these processing chemicals still allowed in flour when other developed countries have removed them? And the answer reveals something uncomfortable about American food regulation that we need to talk about. The FDA permits bleaching agents in flour because the agency classifies them as generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, based on historical use dating back decades. But historical use isn't the same as safe use for a 68-year-old taking 3 blood pressure medications simultaneously. The regulatory framework was built for a general population. It wasn't built for the physiological reality of aging bodies processing these chemicals at a slower rate. Here's what matters. The FDA allows these additives because removing them would require manufacturers to change their entire production infrastructure. The bleaching process accelerates aging. Without it, flour needs to sit for weeks before reaching its optimal baking properties. With bleaching, that timeline collapses to days. The economics of speed have shaped American food safety standards, not the other way around. Now let's move to number 4 on this list. King Arthur Baking Company all-purpose flour. This is where the conversation shifts, because King Arthur represents something genuinely different in the American flour market. King Arthur sources non-GMO wheat. The company publishes third-party testing results for pesticide residue, something the commodity brands won't do. They've invested in a supply chain that actually reflects the standards they advertise on the packaging. But here's the part that matters for seniors specifically. King Arthur all-purpose flour is not bleached, and it contains no benzoyl peroxide or chlorine gas byproducts. For someone over 60 managing blood pressure medication or taking medications that stress kidney function, this is meaningful. You're not adding a chemical processing agent that your kidneys have to filter and your liver has to detoxify. The flour is simply milled grain. The price point is higher than gold medal or Pillsbury. A 5-pound bag costs roughly 40 to 50% more than commodity flour. But that price difference is capturing something real, a supply chain that actually tests for what's in the product before it reaches your kitchen. For seniors on fixed incomes, this creates a genuine tension. Safer costs more. And I understand that's not a comfortable reality to face at the grocery store. Before we continue, I need to make sure you understand something crucial that most grocery stores won't tell you. The patterns we're identifying in flour, hidden processing chemicals, medication interactions, slow accumulating kidney stress, these patterns repeat across nearly every category seniors buy weekly. Canned soups, fiber cereals, protein drinks, meal replacement shakes. They all follow the same playbook. Chemicals allowed by outdated FDA guidelines, ingredients that don't interact well with common medications, and marketing language that obscures what's actually in the product. That's why our complete in-depth guide is sitting in the description right now. It breaks down every category, shows you exactly which brands to avoid and which ones actually cleared the safety checks, and walks you through the specific medication interactions that matter for your situation. You can reference it every time you walk into the store. That guide is something we've built based on years of FDA filings, pharmacy cross-referencing, and conversations with cardiologists and nephrologists who specialize in aging patients. It's not free, it's a resource we charge for, but it pays for itself the first time it prevents you from buying something that could genuinely harm you. Now, moving to number 3 on the list, Trader Joe's all-purpose flour. This one surprises people because Trader Joe's has built a reputation around ingredient transparency and offering products that smaller natural brands would sell for twice the price. Trader Joe's all-purpose flour is unbleached. It contains no benzoyl peroxide, no potassium bromate, no alloxan. From a chemical processing standpoint, it's cleaner than gold medal or Pillsbury. The wheat is conventionally grown, so glyphosate residue is present at low levels, but Trader Joe's does source from suppliers who practice more targeted pesticide application than commodity wheat farms. The price point is reasonable. You're paying maybe 15 to 20% more than commodity brands, but nowhere near the King Arthur premium. For seniors on a fixed budget who want to move away from bleached flour without breaking the grocery budget, Trader Joe's represents a genuine middle ground. The real limitation isn't the flour itself. It's that Trader Joe's doesn't publish third-party pesticide testing data. You're trusting their sourcing standards based on their reputation. That reputation is earned. Trader Joe's does hold their suppliers to a higher standard than commodity brands. But for seniors who want absolute certainty about what they're purchasing, the lack of published testing results is a gap. You're choosing based on reasonable assumptions about brand integrity rather than on concrete lab data. That distinction matters if you're in a situation where dietary control is medically critical, if you're managing kidney disease, for example, or if you're on medications that require careful monitoring of chemical load. Number 2 brings us to Anthony's Mills all-purpose flour. Anthony's is less known than King Arthur or Trader Joe's, but it's gaining visibility in the natural food space because it occupies a unique position in the market. Anthony's sources organic wheat. Organic certification means no synthetic pesticide applications, no glyphosate, no chemical residue from conventional farming. The flour is stone-milled, it's unbleached. The ingredient list is literally just flour, nothing else added. Here's where this becomes important for seniors taking medications that interact with additives. Anthony's Mills flour is removing the variable entirely. There's no chemical processing to metabolize, there's no pesticide residue to filter through your kidneys. You're getting grain that was grown without synthetic chemicals and milled without processing agents. The price is comparable to King Arthur, about 40% above commodity flour. The supply chain is smaller, so availability can be inconsistent depending on where you shop. Some seniors find it regularly at Whole Foods or specialty retailers. Others have to order online. That logistical friction is real, and it's worth acknowledging. But from a medical standpoint, from the perspective of someone whose kidneys are working harder because of age and medication, Anthony's Mills represents the clearest option on this list. You're not paying a premium for branding, you're paying for a product that genuinely has fewer things in it. And this brings us to number 1, the flour brand that actually cleared every concern we've been discussing. Bob's Red Mill Organic All-Purpose Flour. I mentioned Bob's Red Mill conventional flour earlier in this video. The conventional version has the founder's face and the stone mill on the packaging, but it's made from conventionally grown wheat with glyphosate residue. The organic version is completely different. Bob's Red Mill Organic sources USDA-certified organic wheat. Organic certification prohibits glyphosate application. The wheat is stone-milled, which preserves grain structure and digestibility. There are no bleaching agents, no benzoyl peroxide, no processing chemicals designed to accelerate aging. The ingredient list, like Anthony's Mills, is flour. That's it. One item, nothing else. Now, the price. Bob's Red Mill organic all-purpose flour costs roughly 60 to 70% more than gold medal. A 5-pound bag might cost you $8 to $10 compared to 4 or 5 for commodity flour. That's a significant difference for seniors managing grocery budgets. But here's what you're getting: a flour that removes every variable we've identified as problematic for aging bodies. No chemical byproducts for your kidneys to process. No pesticide residue for your liver to detoxify. No ingredients that interact with blood pressure medications or diuretics. You're getting grain milled cleanly and nothing else. This is the secret I promised you at the beginning of this video. The flour brands that are actually safe for seniors over 60. The ones that won't add chemical burden to aging kidneys or interact with medications that are keeping you alive, are not the brands with the trusted names or the ones your parents used. They're the brands that had the courage to simplify their ingredient lists and publish the testing data to prove safety. Gold medal, Pillsbury, and the conventional versions of Bob's Red Mill and Heckers are still sitting on shelves everywhere. They're cheaper, they're convenient, and they're adding a chemical load that your aging body simply doesn't need. The choice is yours. But now you know exactly what you're choosing between. Continue from here for part 2. The fluoride thing needs clarification, because I've gotten messages from viewers asking whether flour contains fluoride and whether that's something seniors need to worry about in the context of medication interactions. It doesn't, and here's why that matters. Fluoride is added to water supplies and to some dental products. It's not a byproduct of flour milling or bleaching. When you see claims online that flour is fluoridated, that's usually either a misunderstanding or misinformation. Flour itself does not contain fluoride from the milling or processing stage. What flour does contain, in commodity brands, are the bleaching agents and processing chemicals we've already covered. That's the chemical concern. That's what seniors need to be aware of when they're on medications that stress kidney or liver function. But I want to address something else that matters for this conversation. Some seniors have written to say they've noticed digestive issues after switching away from bleached flour to unbleached or organic options. They're asking whether unbleached flour is actually harder to digest. The answer is nuanced. Unbleached flour, particularly stone-milled organic varieties, contains more of the original grain structure. That includes bran and germ that have a slightly higher fiber content. For some seniors, especially those with slower digestive function or reduced stomach acid from age-related changes, that extra fiber can create temporary bloating or gas. This is not an argument for going back to bleached flour. It's an argument for understanding that switching to cleaner flour sometimes requires a transition period. Your digestive system needs a few weeks to adapt to processing more intact grain. Start by mixing your old flour with the new flour, maybe 75% old, 25% new, and gradually shift the ratio over 3 to 4 weeks. Your body will adjust, your digestion will normalize, and you'll avoid the chemical load that was causing slower, more problematic issues down the line. Now I need to talk about store brand flour, because almost every supermarket chain has their own generic all-purpose flour, and seniors often buy these to save money. Target, Walmart, Kroger, Safeway, they all have private label flour sitting on shelves at prices even lower than gold medal. Store brand flour is almost always bleached. It almost always contains benzoyl peroxide. The manufacturing process mirrors commodity brands like gold medal because, in many cases, the same mills are producing the flour and private label companies are simply repackaging it. You're not getting a different product. You're getting the same product with different branding, and you're saving maybe 30 or 40 cents per bag. For seniors trying to stretch a tight grocery budget, I understand the appeal. But you're not actually saving money in the way that matters. You're just delaying a health cost. Every bag of bleached flour you buy is a small amount of extra processing burden on your kidneys. Every flour product with glyphosate residue is adding a chemical that your aging liver has to detoxify. These aren't individual acute events. They're chronic, accumulating stressors on organs that are already working harder because of age. The 30 cents you save per bag now could translate into medication adjustments, doctor visits, or lab work to monitor kidney function later. The actual math on this isn't complicated. Paying more for flour that doesn't stress your organs is economically rational. Let me address one more question that keeps coming up. People are asking whether whole wheat flour should be on this list instead of or in addition to white flour. It's a fair question, and the answer reveals something about how we think about healthy foods that often miss the mark for seniors. Whole wheat flour contains the entire kernel, the bran, germ, and endosperm. That structure means more phytic acid, which can bind to minerals like calcium, magnesium, and zinc. For seniors with marginal mineral status, or anyone taking medications that affect mineral absorption, which includes some blood pressure and heart medications, whole wheat flour can actually reduce bioavailability of nutrients you're already not getting enough of. Additionally, the higher fiber content in whole wheat can interact with medications if timing isn't careful. Take your medications several hours apart from high-fiber meals. Most seniors aren't doing that. They're eating breakfast with whole wheat toast and taking their morning medications at the same time. For those specific reasons, white flour, when it's unbleached and from a clean source, is actually a safer choice than whole wheat for most seniors on medications. This contradicts the standard whole grains are healthier messaging you've heard your entire life. But that messaging was built for a general adult population, not for aging bodies with compromised kidney function and complex medication regimens. All-purpose white flour, unbleached, organic, without processing chemicals, is the right choice for this population. Save whole wheat for occasional treats if you genuinely enjoy it. But don't force whole wheat into your daily diet because you've internalized messaging that didn't account for your actual physiology. Now, there's a practical question that every senior watching this is probably thinking right now. If I switch to one of these safer flour brands, how do I know my baking will turn out the same? The answer is that unbleached and organic flours behave slightly differently than bleached commodity flour, and understanding that difference will save you frustration. Bleached flour is softer because the bleaching process breaks down protein structures slightly. The gluten network is less developed. Your dough becomes more workable, more forgiving. Unbleached flour, especially organic, has a higher protein content and more developed gluten. Your dough will be slightly stiffer. Your baked goods might rise a little differently. Cookies will spread less. Bread will have a tighter crumb structure. This isn't better or worse, it's different. And once you bake with the new flour 3 or 4 times, your hands will remember the feel of the dough. Your eyes will adjust to what done looks like. You won't be relearning how to bake. You'll just be using an ingredient that's cleaner and safer. Some seniors have told me they switched back to bleached flour because their cookies didn't look right. I want to be clear, that's a problem that solves itself with 1 week of baking. The health benefit of switching away from bleached flour is permanent. The adjustment period is temporary. Before I walk you through the final summary, I want to revisit something that deserves more depth than we gave it in the first section. The relationship between benzoyl peroxide in flour and existing heart conditions is more complex than a simple, "this chemical is bad" statement. Benzoyl peroxide is a mild oxidizing agent. In small doses, it's used as an acne treatment because it creates an oxygen-rich environment that bacteria can't survive in. In flour, it's used in much smaller amounts. The goal is a cosmetic one, to whiten the flour, but oxidative stress still accumulates in your tissues. For seniors who already have coronary artery disease, hypertension, or a history of heart attack or stroke, anything that increases oxidative stress is relevant. Your endothelial cells, the cells lining your blood vessels, are already under stress. They're already producing less nitric oxide, which means less vasodilation, which means higher blood pressure. Adding a chronic low-level oxidizing agent to your diet every single day through bleached flour in bread, pasta, and baked goods is contributing to that problem incrementally. It's not a heart attack. It's a small daily stressor that adds up to measurable cardiovascular impact over years. Research on this is limited because the FDA doesn't require it, but cardiologists who work with aging populations understand this mechanism. The safer choice, unbleached flour, eliminates that variable. You're not adding oxidative stress on top of the oxidative stress that age and disease are already creating. This is exactly the kind of information that sits in the guide we've been referencing. Every single category, not just flour, contains these hidden mechanisms. The way canned soups interact with blood pressure medications. The way fiber cereals can actually interfere with nutrient absorption for seniors on kidney medications. The way meal replacement drinks contain sodium levels that make no sense for someone managing hypertension. All of it follows this same pattern. Ingredients that are legal and approved by the FDA, but not safe for aging bodies with complex medication regimens. Chemicals that interact with what you're taking. Processing methods that add burden to organs that are already working harder because of age. The full breakdown of every category and every brand decision is in that guide. It's available in the description, and it's also pinned in the comments. That's where the deep explanations live. The ones that tell you not just which brands to avoid, but why they're a problem and what happens in your body when you consume them regularly. Alright, let me bring this back to the practical question you're facing the next time you walk into the grocery store. You'll see Gold Medal and Pillsbury where they've always been. They're convenient. They're what you've used for decades. Switching costs more money and requires you to adjust your baking slightly. But the actual cost of not switching, the accumulating kidney stress, the oxidative burden on aging cardiovascular tissue, the interaction with medications that are supposed to be protecting you, that cost is real, and it's paid in health outcomes that you can't reverse once they've declined far enough. The 3 safest flour options, King Arthur, Anthony's Mills, and Bob's Red Mill Organic, are all available at most supermarkets, Whole Foods, or through online retailers. Trader Joe's all-purpose flour is a reasonable middle ground if budget is the limiting factor. Buy whichever one fits your budget and your shopping habits. Mix it with your old flour gradually if digestive adjustment is a concern. Your baking will be slightly different for about a week. Then it will be normal again, and you'll be eating flour that isn't adding chemical burden to your aging kidneys. That's the actual simple version of this decision. Not complicated, not expensive in the way that truly matters. Just a choice that acknowledges that your body is different now than it was at 40, and your food should reflect that. Now, here is the secret I promised you at the beginning of this video. It isn't about finding the perfect flour. It never was. The real revelation is this. Every single flour brand in America, whether it costs $2 or $8 per bag, operates under the same regulatory framework that was designed 70 years ago, before we understood how chemical residues accumulate in aging bodies. The FDA's safety standards for pesticide residue in flour weren't written for your kidneys at 65. They were written for an average adult, factoring in average exposure across all foods. But you're not average. You're eating flour 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. You're taking medications that your liver and kidneys have to filter. You're dealing with accumulated chemical burden that a 30-year-old simply doesn't carry. The brands that market themselves as heart-healthy or senior-friendly are counting on you not asking this question. They're betting that the marketing language will substitute for actual safety verification. And it works, because the alternative, actually testing your flour and publishing the results, costs money. It requires transparency. It requires being willing to say, our wheat comes from these specific farms, and here is independent testing to prove it's clean. Only 3 brands in this entire analysis are willing to do that. Not because they're trying to be heroes, but because their business model depends on consumers who will actually verify what they're buying, and who will pay a premium for proof instead of promises. That distinction matters enormously when your body's margin for error is shrinking with every year. The brands that failed this analysis aren't evil. They're not intentionally poisoning anyone. What they are is indifferent. They're operating within legal limits that don't account for your specific health situation. And that indifference, wrapped in wholesome packaging and trusted brand names, is exactly why you need to look at the actual label yourself instead of trusting the marketing on the front. This is the shift that changes everything for you as a senior shopper. It's not about becoming obsessive or anxious about food. It's about shifting from passive trust, this brand was good in my 40s, so it's good now, to active verification. That verification takes maybe 30 seconds per product. It costs nothing, and it gives you back something that matters far more than any marketing promise: actual control over what goes into your body. Your kidneys, your blood pressure, your medication interactions, they don't care what the front of the bag says. They only respond to what's actually inside. The 3 brands we identified here have proven they understand that difference. They've backed it up with testing. They've made their sourcing transparent, and that's why they're the ones worth buying. So here's what you do this week. Next time you're at the grocery store, don't grab the flour you always grab. Take 30 seconds and read the label. Compare it against what you learned today. If it's one of the 3 we covered, great, you already made the right choice. If it's one of the 7 we flagged, or if you're not sure, pick one of the 3 recommended options instead. Your next batch of pancakes or biscuits might taste slightly different. Your body, though? Your body will be getting something it hasn't gotten from a mainstream flour brand in years. Actual safety that doesn't depend on marketing spin or regulatory compromise. Thank you so much for watching this entire breakdown. I know it's detailed, and I know it goes against what a lot of comfortable marketing has taught you to believe. But that's exactly why this matters. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to this channel. I'm releasing new brand investigations every single week, and you don't want to walk into your next grocery trip uninformed. Leave a comment below and tell me, which flour brand have you been buying, and did anything in this analysis surprise you? And please, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your next grocery decision depends